morning everyone! Welcome to our video presentation topic for Nature and Effects of Obligation Learning Outcome 3, Rights and Remedies of Creditor or Obligee. Rights of creditors over a thing. Let me define this by explaining the Article 1164. Article 1164. The creditor has the right to the fruits of the thing from the time the obligation to deliver it arises. However, he shall acquire no real right over it until the same has been delivered to him. So, let's analyze it per sentence. The first sentence says that si creditor na daw ang may-ari ng fruits of that thing that should have been delivered to him from that time that thing should have been delivered to him. For example, si A seller, si B buyer. So, ang subject ng kanilang sale is a certain parcel of land na may coconut trees. Now, the due date in which the seller should deliver the parcel of land to B is, for example, December 1. So, kailangan in December 1 na-deliver na ang parcel of land kay B. Dapat ma-execute na ang contract or ma-deliver na to. The certificate of the title of the property should deliver on December 1. Now, for example, A failed to deliver the parcel of land to B in December 1. So, umabot na lang ito ng next year, January 1, hindi pa rin na-deliver. Pero, yung mga coconut doon sa parcel of land is continuous pa rin ang pag-pair ng mga fruits. So, according to the first sentence of the Article 1164, yung fruits daw, from the time yung mga fruits doon or yung mga coconut trees from December 1, ang may-ari na daw noon ay ang buyer. Because December 1 is the time obligation to deliver a house. So, that is the meaning of the first paragraph. But, however, cause an Article 1164, the creditor shall acquire no real right until the same has been delivered to him. So, wala raw real right si creditor until ma-deliver ang property sa kanya. So, what do we mean by real right? But first, wala pang real right si creditor hanggat hindi pa ma-deliver sa kanya. Pero, may personal right siya. So, what is this real right? Ang real right is the power over a specific thing. So, you could, for example, because you are already the owner of the property, you have the power to dispose of it. May power kang iparent ang property or may power kang to make improvements thereon. You as an owner, you have the power to do anything with your property subject to the law. You may do anything that is not illegal over the property because you are the owner of the property, so that is the real right. So, ibig sabihin, although ikaw na yung buyer, dapat i-deliver na sa'yo ang parcel of land on December 1, but January na hindi pa rin na-deliver ang property. Hindi ibig sabihin na pwede mo nang gawin kung anong gusto mo doon sa property na nabili mo or sa parcel of land na nabili mo. Kasi under the Article 1164, wala ka pang real right over that parcel of land. You only have the personal right, which means the power demandable by one person of another. So, meaning, yung buyer, ang right lang niya is to demand the delivery of the property to him. So that is the meaning of the second sentence of the Article 1146.
There are two types of rights. Consider which are the personal rights and real rights. Kapag sinabing personal right, this is a right that may be enforced by one person on another person, such as the right of creditor to demand the delivery of the thing and its fruit from debtor. It's also called jus in personam or jus ad rem. Pag sinabi naman real right, this refers to the right or power a specific thing such as possession or ownership, which is a right enforceable against the whole world. This is the right acquired by the creditor over the thing and its fruits when they have been delivered to him. This is also called jus in rem. Kapag hindi pa na-deliver yung thing at yung fruit of the things, ang meron lang na right, ang creditor ay personal right. Pero kapag na-deliver na yung thing at yung fruits of the thing, meron ng real right si creditor. Let me give you an example. On April 1, 2022, Anna agreed with Jerome to deliver and transfer ownership to Jerome his only parcel of land on April 21, 2022. This means that before April 21, 2022, Jerome had only personal right against Anna. Bakit? Kasi before April 1, 2022, hindi pa na-deliver yung thing which is the only parcel land of Anna. But upon the delivery on April 21, 2022, we had a real right that is enforceable against the whole world. Meron na siyang real right kasi na-deliver na yung parcel of land of Anna kay Jerome. The two main differences of these rights, kapag sinabing personal right, this is a right enforceable against one person or another person. Kapag sinabi naman na real right, this is a right enforceable against the whole world.
As a specific real performance, this speak and present to the obligation of the debtor in determinate things. Ticket na sa when debt ticket, you can point out to a particularly. In order for you to understand this better, let me give you an example. Number 1, a 2022 Ford Raptor with a plate number URB123. Why this is a determinate things? Kasi in every vehicle at the unique plate number na and awan kapada na. Number 2, LG inverter refrigerator with a model number LOP12345 with a motor number WX56789. Or in that case, you will know that you referring to specifically that units. Number 3, my only wristwatch. Take note of the word only. That means may mesa. Number 4, the house located at number 16 San Gregorio, Bugasiban na. This is also an example of determinate things. Apay kasi, di ba, di kada mesa abalayket at the housing number na. So you can easily point out no saan nati balayo itsa. As performance, this speak and present to the obligation of the debtor in generic things and obligation to do. Kabaliktaran na DJ determinate things. You cannot point out a certain things with particularly. Example, number 1, a phone. Nagadua sa value brand cellphone. 2, 10,000 pesos. Of course, this is a generic things kasi hantay may maibaga numano at 10,000 pesos badeta. If 10 ba nga sag 1,000 or 20 nga sag 500. 4, a gold Rolex digital watch. Amutay nga gold Rolex digital watch data, but we cannot easily point out no sa naba ijay. What are the remedies of creditor when debtor fails to perform his obligation? 1. If to deliver determinating A. Compel the debtor to make the delivery. Article 1165. B. Demand damages from debtor. These are Article 1170. Take note that the thing here is determinate thing. In case haan nga nag-perform ni debtor, ka DJ obligation na i-deliver DJ determinate thing kay creditor, ti ubra ni creditor, kiti compel na. When no persaen na ni debtor nga i-deliver na DJ determinate thing. Aside kaleta, ag-demand pa ni creditor ti damage from the debtor. For example, Jenny is obliged to give Rose his one and only specific iPhone 11 on due date. Jenny demands to deliver on the specific iPhone 11 but Rose was not able to deliver. With regard to this, Jenny can compel Rose to deliver the said specific iPhone 11. Jenny can also demand payment of damage from Rose. The obligasyon ni Jenny ket to deliver a specific iPhone 11 kay Rose. Nga hindi nagdemand ni Rose hang nga in-deliver ni Jenny di specific iPhone 11. In this example, it's clear that the debtor fails to perform her obligation to deliver a determinate things. In this case, Rose can compel Jenny to deliver the iPhone 11. Aside from that, Rose can also demand payment of damages from Jenny. 2. If to deliver a generic thing, A. As the obligation be complied with at the expenses of debtor from Article 1165. B. Demand damages from the debtor from Article 1170. Take note that the thing here is generic. In case haan nga nag-perform ni debtor the obligation na nga i-deliver the generic thing, kiubraen ni creditor ket to us that the obligation be complied with the expenses of the debtor, meaning to say, gastos ni debtor, aside from that, to demand damages from the debtor. For example, Jenny is obliged to give Rose 5 sacks of rice. If Jenny does not deliver the said rice on due date, Rose's demand. Rose can obtain rice from other sources and the expenses of Jenny. Since rice is generic thing, Rose can obtain from other sources because it can be replaced with the same quality. Rose can also ask for damages. What are the remedies of creditor if the debtor fails to perform his obligation? 1. If an obligation to do when the debtor fails to perform his obligation to do or perform it but contravenes the tenure, therefore of A. The creditor may have the obligation executed and the expenses of the debtor from Article 1167. B. The creditor may demand damages from the debtor from Article 1170. Merong tinatawag dito na contravention of the tenure of the obligation, meaning to say, dedicate the violation of terms and condition of the obligation. Example, siya kuman nagaramit agreement kay Jenny that in my incoming 22nd birthday, i-hire ko ni Jenny to make intermission number by singing Owl City by Fireflies. Both of us agreed. Ngem ka DJ Aldaw nga pinag-birthday, Jenny refused to sing. Gaputa mabain. And she sent another singer in replacements. Since the agreement was between me and Jenny, and it is an obligation to do, Jenny cannot send a replacement since her voice and performance is not the same with the replacement. In addition, I cannot force Jenny, but I can hire another singer at the expenses of Jenny or rather ask for damages. If Jenny perform her obligation but sing all the way rather Owl City that was agreed upon, there is a contravening the tenure, therefore I still have the same rights. When the debtor performs his obligation but poorly done, A. The creditor may have the same be undone and the debtor's expenses from Article 1167. B. The creditor may demand damages from the debtor from Article 1170. Example, Romeo is obliged to construct the fence of Juliet's newly built house. They agreed to the measurement and alignment and the materials to be used. Romeo performed his obligation, but the fence was not aligned. The materials used was substandard. The finishing was raw and the foundation was weak. Juliet had the fence demolished. At the expenses of Romeo, Juliet can also demand damages from Romeo. 2. If an obligation not to do. When debtor performs what has been forbidden of him, A. The creditor may demand what has been done be undone. B. The creditor may demand damages from the debtor. Example, Romeo bought a parcel of land from Juliet. However, the only access from the road to his newly bought land is the lot of James. So, he made an agreement with James that for 20 years he will give Romeo a right of way for a sum of money. James agreed and received the money. It was also agreed that for 20 years, James will not construct a fence that will hinder in the pathway to Romeo's run. 10 years later, James constructed a fence. James violated the contract. Romeo may demand that the fence be removed and the expenses of James and pay damage.
Substituted performance. I will give you one example. Hindi kaya ni debtor na i-perform yung obligation, so you can ask someone else na i-perform yung obligation. Sa damages naman, ito yung met dijay agbayad ka if mayroon kang napabayaan o nasira. Kasi, no criminal law, automatic maibalot ka, ngem no met civil law, ito yung met dijay agbayad ka lang the damages.
Rescission allows a non-breaching party to cancel the contract as a remedy for a breach. Rather than seeking monetary damages, the non-breaching party can simply refuse to complete their end of the bargain. Rescission puts the parties back in the position they would have been in had they never entered into the contract. For example, imagine that you contract to provide catering services for an event. The contract requires the other party to pay half the contract price by a certain date, but they never pay. Since payment goes to the heart of the contract, you would be justified in rescinding the contract and refusing to provide the catering services. The last principal rights and remedies is attach and execution of debtor's property. It is a legal process by which a court of law, at the request of a creditor, designates a specific property owned by the debtor to be transferred to the creditor, or sold for the benefit of the creditor. An attachment is a court order seizing a specific property. Attachment is used both as a pre-trial provisional remedy and to enforce a final judgment. For example, the property of a third party, to which the debtor has no possessory rights, may not be seized, held, and eventually sold to satisfy the obligations of the debtor. Property may not be taken by the government even in aid of a judgment without due process of law. In short, the creditor can take the properties of the debtor as a payment of his debts.
Action subrogatoria and action pauliana are remedies available to creditors for the satisfaction of their claims. Action subrogatoria are remedy where the creditors whose claims had not been fully satisfied and may go after the debtor's third person of the defendant latter. This is also a remedy to be subrogated to all the debtor's rights and actions except those that are inherent in person. According to Article 1177 of the Civil Code, provides that the creditors, after having pursued the property in possession of the debtors to satisfy their claims, and may exercise all the rights and bring all the actions of the latter for the same purpose, and save those which are inherent in his person. They may also impugn the actions which the debtor may have done to defraud them. Example is this: when the debtor promised to deliver your order, but this debtor fails to deliver you the thing that you ordered. If the debtor failed, you as a creditor, you can submit a demand letter. As also the creditor, you can attach all leviable properties of the debtor only and to pay what the debtor owed the creditor. The last one is the action Pauliana, or action for rescission. It is a remedy where the creditor files an action in court for the rescission of acts or contracts entered into by the debtor decide to defraud the former. Example is when your debtor recently entered into a contract of sale or recently donated a property. You try to look for the debtor's property but she doesn't have property. It can be cancelled in the action Pauliana if you can prove that the activation was made by the debtor to defraud you. Then you can ask the court to resell the property. You are asking the court to cancel contract entered into by the debtor with a third person, and the donation will be returned to him so that the payment will be going to you. The transfer of title to real property for the express purpose of putting it beyond the reach of a known creditor. An action Pauliana accrues only when the creditor discovers that he has no other legal remedy for the satisfaction of his claims against the debtor. In short, you can file action Pauliana without trying all the remedies.